Vision boards are a great tool for helping you cast a vision for your best life and set goals that align with that best life. So, today I'm going to share my vision board as well as some takeaways to help you create a vision board that actually works. Hi, I'm Tasha Cochran. I'm a lawyer and a wealth coach, and this is One Big Happy Life, where we help you find balance, build wealth, and live happy. Everything that you need to create the life that you want. I'm really excited to talk to you about vision boards today and how you can use them to create the life that you want. Because last year was a pretty tough year, 2020, right? And so if a vision board can work in a year like 2020, then imagine what it could do in a good year. But first, I want to invite you to a free live money masterclass that I'm going to be hosting next week called Create Your Financial Dream Life. You can save your seat by heading over to onebighappylife.com/wealth class. In this money masterclass, I'll walk you through how to confidently take control of your money so that you can use it to build wealth while also being able to spend abundantly on the things that truly matter to you today. I'll be sharing the 4 keys to creating a money plan that helps you build wealth with ease. So head on over to onebighappylife.com/wealth class and grab your seat. Early in 2020, I created a vision board and I shared that vision board in a video, which I will drop a link to down below if you haven't seen it. And recently, Amanda Cooper left a comment asking for me to review my 2020 vision board and to share what it manifested. So thank you, Amanda, for your comment, and that is what inspired this video. Now, if you're brand new to vision boarding, this might all feel very woo-woo to you, which I get it. I'm a lawyer. I love analytical thinking and facts. And so it should put you at ease to know that visualization exercises like this are not a new thing. In fact, they're often used by elite athletes to enhance their performance. I'm not an elite athlete, but I have found that using visualization techniques like having a vision board really does help me stay focused on my dreams and my vision for my life. And if you think about it, every day, we have over 6,000 thoughts, right? We humans, we have 6,000 thoughts, most of which we don't even realize what those thoughts are as they pass through our minds. But how we think really does impact how we show up in the world. And so all of those unconscious thoughts are really dominating the actions that we take on a day-to-day basis. So when you have a vision board, when you have this visual reminder of what it is that you want in your life, it's not surprising that some of your thoughts will start to align subconsciously with the vision that you are feeding your brain every single day if you're looking at your vision board every single day, which you should be doing. So I wanted to share 4 practical, tactical ways that having a vision board really did help me over the past year. So number 1, my vision board encouraged me to dream big. So I didn't set tiny goals. I set really big goals. And I even said in my vision board video that I felt like they were multiple year goals. It would take me a while to reach those goals, but they allowed me to dream big. They allowed me to want what I want unabashedly, and some of them were big and some of them were scary to put out into the world. And as I go through each part of it step by step, I'll tell you which one of those were. But once I put it out there, once I just let myself step into the fact that I wanted these things, then it was easier to allow myself to show up and be the person that I needed to be to have those things. Which is actually point 2. I committed to showing up and being the person that I needed to be in order to have those things, which means that I knew that I needed to show up different. And I really had to step into the values that I put in my vision board, because if that is what I want, then I've got to start showing up differently. Does that mean that I did everything perfectly? No. And we're going to talk about that. One of the things I did not do perfectly was my health and fitness. And that's one of the things that I have on my vision board. But I will tell you that just having that there made me make better decisions than I otherwise would have, meaning that it could have gotten so much worse than it did. And I believe that having that vision board there, having that daily reminder, even if I wasn't fully showing up as who I needed to be, still helped me from being even further back from my goals than I would have been. Third, I looked at my goals every day. So I had my vision board, it was up in the office, and I also had a picture of it on my phone. So every time I unlocked my phone, it was on my home screen. Joseph and Alexis are actually on my lock screen because I had a really funny picture of them on there, and it made me laugh every time I looked at it. But then I would swipe up and I would see my vision board. And so just that trigger, even though it was a tiny version and I couldn't make out all of the details, I've basically memorized my vision board because I look at it so much. And so every day I would get that reminder, like, this is your vision. This is what you're working towards. And fourth, having that vision board and accepting that those were the things I wanted really pushed me to just speak my vision out loud. I claimed it, I owned it. And what that did was when I would speak my vision out loud to the right people, things would happen. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that right now. All right, so here is my vision board. I'm going to put it down over here on the table, but I'm also going to give you a panning shot so that you can get up close and personal with it. And the thing that I'm going to point your attention to first is that big New York Times bestseller emblem. Because in 2020, I decided that I wanted to step all in and fully commit to writing my first nonfiction book about personal finance. So teaching my personal finance wealth building framework inside of a book. And so that is what I worked on. I worked on that over the course of 2020 because once I decided that I wanted to write a book, then I started telling people about it. And as I started telling people about it, I began to meet other people who were aspiring authors. And eventually I met someone that actually went on to collaborate with me to help me create my book proposal and send it out to literary agents. So I signed with a literary agent towards the end of 2020. And just last week, my book went out, the book proposal went out to publishers, and several publishers are interested. We're getting some really good early feedback, and we have meetings with publishers next week. So my hope is, fingers crossed, that within the next month or so or two, I will be announcing that I officially have a book deal to publish my book with a major publisher. So that is really exciting. And that's one massive way that just having this vision board really manifested what I put on the vision board. Now, does that mean that my book is going to be a New York Times bestseller, the very first book right out the gate? That I don't know. I can always hope for that. I can always put that out into the world, but I also don't intend to just write one book, right? So this first book, this is just the beginning, and there will be additional opportunities for me to hit that bestsellers list in the future. But having said that, I'm okay not ever being a New York Times bestseller. That picture is just a representation of wanting to be a published author. So either way, I'm okay. Now, you'll also see down in the bottom corner, I have a lot of photos around travel, which is funny because 2020 is a year where we didn't travel much at all, except we did. So I made this vision board, and then we decided to do a quick, unexpected, impromptu trip to Disney in California because I had a business trip scheduled in February. And I said to Joseph, hey, let's just go out to California. Let's go to Disney out there. We weren't planning on it. And Joseph actually gave me some pushback about it because he's like, we weren't planning for this, so it's not in our budget. We hadn't set aside the money and earmarked it for that trip. And so we were going to use credit cards to go on this trip, figuring that the following month we would just pay the credit cards off and that would be fine. But it's something that we don't usually do. Normally we fully save up for and plan a trip, and then we take the trip. We still use credit cards, but we know that we already have the money earmarked for it. So this was a departure for us to do that. And I pushed him on it. I'm like, let's just do it. I really want to take the kids to Disney. We took the kids to Disney. We had an amazing time. Meanwhile, there was this coronavirus thing developing, right? It was the very early stages. We got back here, and that's when the world shut down a week or two later. Had I not had travel on my vision board, would I have pushed so hard for us to squeeze in that trip in February in the midst of my business trip when we weren't planning to? I don't know. And that's the power, though, of a vision board, because it just reminds you of what matters to you. And I knew that it was important to me to travel, and I wanted to travel as a family, and so we did. And that was the last trip we took in 2020. Now, and we're hoping to be able to travel in 2021. And so we've been talking about travel and wondering when is the right time to book flights. And hopefully by fall of this year, we'll be traveling again. The next section that I want to point to is that $1 million number. That was my big goal. I wanted to hit $1 million in revenue in my business last year, and I didn't hit $1 million in revenue in my business last year. And that was the number that was the scariest thing for me to put out there. That and the New York Times bestseller, like those felt really scary. And I didn't hit it, and it was okay. Did our business grow? Yes. Did our revenue increase? Yes. I'm still hoping this year will be our $1 million year. And frankly, every year will be our $1 million year until it is our $1 million year. And so one thing I would say is don't put so much pressure on your vision board for everything to happen on your timeline, right? Because there was no way that I could tell that a pandemic would happen, that we would lose all of our childcare, that we would be in the middle of a whole civil rights revolution in 2020, and that I just personally would not want to fully pursue with everything I had that particular dream in that year. And that's okay. I'm trusting the timing of my life, and I believe that I've laid the groundwork in 2020 and into 2021 for me to step into the role of a 7-figure business owner. So right next to that, there are some images of family. There's actually a picture of Alexis and Reeves. There are 2 old people staring out into the ocean. That would be me and Joseph, and hands clinking together, and that would be friends. And we actually have made friends in 2020, and we've deepened many of our friendships in 2020. We've also spent so much time together as a family because we have been quarantined, and it's brought us so much closer together. And it's been a gift because, we've never spent this much time as a family. Alexis otherwise would have gone away to college, and we would have spent even less time with her. So I will say that that part of my vision board still held very strong in 2020. Now, right next to that, there is a picture of Oprah on a stage. And really, I put that picture there to remind myself to continue to show up, to think big, to inspire people to live their best lives. But it's actually a picture of Oprah on the stage. And because in 2020, I ended up speaking on stage, speaking at people's events way more than I ever had in the past. I think I spoke at around 8 to 10 events last year. It was a lot, not because I was reaching out, but because people were coming to me asking me to speak at their events. So it's really funny and coincidental how that ended up shaking out that way, where I put a picture of Oprah on stage, kind of envisioning that I'm like Oprah on stage. And then I ended up speaking at so many events, including Adobe Max, which was attended by tens of thousands of people. Now let's go to the bottom left corner of the board where there's a dream house. And it's so funny. It wasn't until I was looking over my vision board and looking at the things that happened in 2020 and thinking about, okay, well, what actually did happen? I was thinking to myself, well, I'm not any closer to living in my dream house because we still live in the same house. But then I thought about all of the things that we did to our house over the course of 2020, not even purposefully trying to create the vision that is in this vision board, but that's exactly what we did. We redid our bathroom. We redid our bedroom, kind of not on purpose because the ceiling caved in, but we updated it. We added in ceiling lights. It's so much brighter and more welcoming in there. We've updated our kitchen. We've updated the office. So this house is so much more enjoyable to live in. We get so much more satisfaction out of all of the rooms. We also added more equipment to our home gym, and there's a home gym on here. So it's so funny how in my mind, I was putting this there because I'm like, well, this is the home that I want to live in eventually. But I spent 2020 bringing this home closer to that ideal without even realizing it. And I have to think that some small part of that is because, well, I was looking at this house every day and thinking to myself, well, gosh, it'd be nice to have that. And so why not now? Now, the last thing that I want to point you to is that big empty space. When I put together my vision board last year, I didn't know what to put in that empty space. I couldn't think of anything. I'm like, this board is great. I don't need to add anything to it. I'll just leave space there for serendipity, for what needs to fit in there. And so towards the end of 2020, I still hadn't filled it in, but towards the end of 2020, I started to really feel the imbalance between my work and my life. I felt that I was working too much much and spending too many hours not necessarily being productive in my business. And I wasn't sure why. I wasn't feeling as inspired or as creative. And if you notice, I actually made fewer videos in 2020 than we had made in the years before. So I started working with a life coach, my friend Goli from Lessons from a Quitter. And we met every week and we started working through some of the thoughts that I was having, trying to figure out where this overwork was coming from. And she challenged me to spend time doing nothing. Like to just leave empty space where I wasn't booked or scheduled. And I also started looking up more about the Enneagram. I'm an Enneagram 8, which is a challenger, and just learning about how I could best thrive based on my personality type. And another thing that kept coming up was rest and space and time to think and quiet time. And there it is, this big blank space in my vision board where there is nothing. And it's just the weirdest thing. I mean, it's obviously a coincidence, and I'm aligning meaning to this thing now in hindsight, which is very easy to do. But oh my goodness, if my vision board did not tell me at the beginning of 2020 that I needed to leave space for things, right? And it's a lesson that I didn't fully internalize till the end of 2020. And now I am working on here in 2021 to actively create that space, to do less, to do so that I can create with ease. So that's my 2020. That is how my 2020 manifested. It was a great year for me personally. I know it's not easy to say that because I know that it was a hard year for a lot of people. There was a lot of suffering and a lot of loss. But I think that there are opportunities for us to thrive and to learn and to grow even in the midst of adversity. So I hope that you enjoyed this walk through my vision board with me. Be sure to head on over to onebighappylife.com/wealth class and let's talk about how you can use your money to support your best version of your life. All right, I will see you next time. Bye.